All right, everybody, welcome back to the number one television program in the history of the entire universe. I'm Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today, I am going to be reviewing The Art of Prophecy by Wesley Chu. I believe that's how you pronounce all of that. I could be wrong. Anyway, this is book number one in the War of Arts saga. It's been out for about maybe a year or so. Let's talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. And we've got a dynamite cover here, folks. I really like the way this is designed. It's just sort of a simple black and white drawing, with a few little touches of color here and there, but got this character here, but if you turn it, I think it's this way, it makes a little more sense. I think the whole illustration makes a little more sense turned up on its side, but I think it's pretty dope that it's like this. And it's got a nice wraparound thing going on here to it, and even better, on the inside, we have these great colorful maps here. Really, really dope maps of the world that we will be exploring in this wonderful book. There's no real other illustrations in this. It looks like the cover was done by Tran Nguyen. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm going to spell it for you. Tran, Tran, Nguyen, Nguyan. Trying my best, folks. Trying my best. And I apologize for any mistakes I make. So, this book looks fantastic. Is the story as fantastic as it looks? Does the story match the cover? Can I judge this book by the cover? Yes. The cover's dope. The story's dope. This is sort of an Asian-influenced fantasy world that we're in here, exploring. It starts out with Jain, G-A-I-N. I was pronouncing it Jayan the whole time. It might be Jane, Jin. I don't know. Well, anyway, this is the chosen one trope. Young person destined to save the world from the evil lords, evil bad guys, the the chosen one trope, the Luke Skywalker, the Rand al'Thor. Oh my gosh, we could just name so many more chosen one tropes, but we'll just stop with those two. Okay. The thing is, Jian isn't living he's not a farm boy like Luke. He's not living in a small little village, in obscurity, being mentored by some, wizard or Obi-Wan Kenobi. No, everybody knows that Jian is the chosen one. Like, he was born, and when he came out of the womb, everybody's like, the chosen one. And he was raised as such, and people train him to be. I mean, he is the one chosen, prophesied to kill the immortal Khan. And that is what he's destined to do. Prophecy says so. And so everybody, they train him in the arts of martial arts and sword fighting and all the weaponry above. But the training is a little weird, okay? And this is where we get our second character. We see this book through four main characters, and I'll get to each one of them in order. The second character we see this story through is Tayashi. T-I-A-S-H-I. Tayashi. Now, she is a martial arts master. She's an older lady. She comes to watch our boy prophesied to save the world. She comes to watch him in his training. And this is where the book really sort of I understood what was going on, because we're watching this young boy who's the prophesied savior of the world train in his martial arts, and he's just kicking everyone's ass. He's just beating. But it's one of those kind of trainings that you see on YouTube or in martial arts classes where the people that are fighting against him kind of are letting him win. And this happened to me when I was in the police academy and we had to learn defensive tactics, but we would just go through the motions in slow motion. Like, here's how somebody's got you around the neck. You do this and this and this, and then you do it all in slow motion, or you twist somebody's arm, or you put your arm in a twist lock, and you can pain submission people. And then if you're on the grappling on the ground, you do this move with your leg, and you thrust your elbow over here, and so everything's done in slow motion, and then they grade you on it, and you do it, and you're like, oh my gosh, you kicked ass. You just kicked ass. And you're like, in your mind, you're thinking, but I did it in slow motion. I wasn't even going 5% speed of a real fight. And so that's kind of what's happening with this boy's training, is everybody watches him do the training and they're all clapping for him. Yay! He did all the moves spectacularly. What a great martial artist. Yay for him. Meanwhile, Tayashi, the martial arts master who's been doing it and fighting in real fights her whole life, is like, this guy hasn't learned anything. And so she kind of takes him under the tutelage of herself and starts to train him in real fight at real speeds. And the kid gets humiliated quickly. And he's just, Tayashi can tell that the kid has some skill, but it's like everybody was just kind of kissing his butt the whole time and telling him he was wonderful. Like those American Idol people that show up in American Idol where their parents and everybody around them have said they've been great singers their whole life, and then they show up and they do their performance, and then Simon tells them they suck, and they're kind of like, what? What? And then they go away humiliated. That's kind of what we've got here. So I loved it from the get-go because I was relating to that. I was one of those guys in the police academy that was doing these stupid defense tactics moves, and everybody's like, yay, he passed defensive tactics. Yay, he'll be able to win against all the criminals and felons and robbers and bad guys. But then in a real fight, it's just like everybody's just kind of like, doing this kind of thing, and it just looks awkward. And anyway, Tayashi, great character, great dynamic. And so now we've got this dynamic of this young, spoiled, prophesied hero that's got to realize that he's just kind of been fed a bunch of bullcrap his whole life, and people have just sort of been like praising him for doing nothing, and he's kind of humiliated about this. And this is where we're like, okay, now how is this guy going to handle it? And is it going to be like this cliched thing, or is the author going to put some twists on this? And boy, does he put some twists on this and make it really cool. We've got another third character, Sally, who Sali. Now, she is sort of this letter of the law, very chivalrous. I cannot pronounce anything today. Very chivalrous letter of the law type warrior who learns sort of the hard way that rules can be broken, especially when the leader that she's pledged her life to is like gone, and she's got to change the way in which she goes about fighting and warrior stuff. Now, this character is living in a different part of the landscape than our main story with Tayashi and Jayan, and it's called the Grass Plains or something like that, the Grassy Plains. Can't remember what it was, but that world building really starts to ramp up in Sally's storyline. And Sally, by the way, has one of the most badass weapons ever. And so we got that storyline going, and I want to hurry up through this. So my favorite character, Kisimi, and I was pronouncing it Kisimi, but I think it's Kisami, Qisami. Now, this is a chaotic assassin who takes way too much glee in killing people. And this is sort of where the heart and humor and just sort of, I don't know, sense of like wonder kind of sort of enters into the story through Kisimi. And because this is where all just the wry sense of sarcasm that this character kind of waltzes through the landscape. Because you meet Sally before you meet Kisimi, and Sally, this warrior, sort of commands every room, the presence that commands every room that she enters into. She's just a badass. But then we meet Kisimi, who's sort of she's truly a killer, and enjoys it way too much. And so we've got these 4 characters in this landscape with the immortal Khan, who or the eternal Khan, as maybe it's called, is, and we've got to figure out how to, because things, when you've got someone called the eternal Khan, that they want to do bad things and be bad and overtake and enslave and entrap and just make things miserable. And so we've got these 4 characters, Jian, Tiashi, Sali, and Kasimi, who are kind of, their divergent stories kind of all converge and it all makes sense at the end. Just an absolutely wonderfully done novel. Fast-paced, not a wasted scene. I felt like each scene built on the next, and the world building was done in a real easy way. It was sharply written. I understood the landscape that I was traveling through. I understood what was going on with all the characterizations. The dialogue was on point. It's just a really, really, really good fantasy novel set in a very interesting universe with some cool world building and 4 really good characters that have very interesting journeys that they take. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in book 2, which I think is coming out in 6 months or so. But anyway, The Art of Prophecy, I will give this a solid, enthusiastic 9 out of 10. It's just that good.